Have you ever felt like the version of you that's spiritual, awake, or calm only shows up when life is quiet, but somehow disappears the moment things get messy? If so, this week's teaching on Turīyātīta, the state beyond the fourth, is for you. For those of you who have been following for the last few videos, welcome back. Salut. If you are new to this space, bienvenido. My name is David William Pearce, a Tantric Conversational Hypnotherapist and Aligned Yoga Specialist. In the last few weeks in the Aligned Living Collective, we've been exploring the states of consciousness in non-dual Shaiva Tantra. A little refresh for you. First is the waking state, dreaming, deep sleep. My auto scroll as having a fail moment there. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and Turiya, the fourth, the awareness beneath all states. And now, Turīyātīta, but it's not the fifth state. Not above, not below, but beyond. Or more accurately, through. In the words of my teacher, Christopher Harish Wallace, in his book Tantra Illuminated, it is the complete permeation of the first three states by the fourth. Now, if you need to watch the video on the fourth, I'm going to leave that there. Go back and understand what Turiya is, that fourth state of consciousness. Because most of us, especially on spiritual paths, have been conditioned to believe that awakening means escaping stress, escaping emotion, escaping mess, escaping the parts of life that feel too human. And that's what Turiya is about, that fourth state of consciousness, that transcendental state. And Turīyātīta points to something very different. It says that the divine isn't found by leaving life. It's found by being in it, even in those messy, painful moments. Because by realizing that the light isn't behind your experience, it is your experience. In that moment, that breath, that irritation, that joy, that sorrow, as one of the tantric scriptures says, one whose self is the universe, knowing fully that all this is my own expansion, experiences the divine, hey buddy, even in the flow of differential cognition. This is Miko. Miko says hello. So in other words, the sacred isn't out there. It's here, in the moment, in your experience, in being interrupted by a cat. It's always there. It always was. And honestly, this teaching has, in the past and this week also, hit me right where I need it. For example, it's nearly Christmas, and for me, that hasn't always been the most wonderful time of year. There are even a few years I opted to spend it alone, unable to cope with the emotional challenge of family dynamics. And rather than trying to escape my lived experience, I see now how Tantra invites us to embrace it, to learn from it, even when it feels undesirable. Turīyātīta shows us something quite profound, that awakening isn't about reaching a higher state. It's about dissolving the split between the sacredness and the ordinary. You don't become spiritual when life behaves. You recognize the spiritual inside whatever life brings, like a cat. This state isn't transcendence, it's divine immanence. Tantra calls this samavesha, divine entry, full permeation. Yeah, buddy. Imagine doing the dishes and feeling the hum of awareness, moving through your hands. Imagine opening an email and sensing the same consciousness that lives in meditation. Or imagine sitting with an impatient cat who was just waiting for his dinner and just being present with him. Sitting in the discomfort and realizing it's made of God too. That is Turīyātīta. And the moment we stop trying to ascend out of our experience, we begin to experience the sacred in everything. And I get how challenging that can be, especially in the really hard moments, to think that this is sacred too. But that's the invitation. And that's where Tantric Conversational Hypnotherapy becomes so powerful, because so much suffering comes from inner separation, that sense that I should be more spiritual, I shouldn't feel this way, that if I were truly awake and aware, this wouldn't bother me. But TCH helps dissolve the mental, emotional knots that create the split, not by bypassing the human parts, but by integrating them. Those feelings that come up are based on beliefs that we held at one point in our life in proxy for a truth, because it supported us in some way at that moment in time. It's said in Tantra, we're only ever doing the best we can with what we have. And in those moments when we don't have something better, we use what's available. And sometimes that is a belief that has supported us so fantastically until now, when it's outdated and no longer serves. And there is something we haven't yet experienced or understood that helps us to navigate the situation we're in better than what we've had up until this point. And the pain, the suffering, the challenge that you're experiencing is the divine God's Spirit's invitation for you to recognize that you're running on outdated software and it's time for an update. So rather than pushing the pain away, we listen to it. We let it soften. We let the deeper intelligence reveal itself. And suddenly, the very thing that you were trying to transcend gets to become the doorway to freedom. I know it's paradoxical. And in that, there can be a lot of frustration. I have to lean into the thing that has been causing me pain. Yeah, because it's got something for you to learn from. There's a truth in there waiting to be revealed, to be recognized. And to help illustrate this, let me tell you about Prem, who was struggling with spiritual escapism, an internal disconnection from daily life. Prem chased the light. They went to mountains, temples, ashrams. They closed their eyes and prayed for transcendence, begged to be lifted out of the mess. But one night, after all the effort had stilled, they sat by a roadside tea stall. A child handed them a chipped cup. Someone nearby was singing off key. The sky was dull, the tea too sweet, and suddenly everything shimmered. Not brighter, not purer, just more real. The child's eyes, the cracked ceramic, the sticky table, Prem's own heart. It was as if the light had stopped hiding and Prem had stopped pretending that it wasn't already there. They didn't levitate, they didn't weep, they just breathed. And that night, he repeated the mantra, Turīyātīta, samavesha, and new. So if today's teaching landed for you, if something in you softened, if you felt recognized in your own longing to feel whole inside your actual self, then not just in a retreat, in the silence, in the meditation, which I totally understand, those spaces where we just get to escape the world for a fraction of time and everything feels great again. That's not where life is. That's where life isn't. And those moments can be valuable. They can create the space to bring the insight. That's what TCH can do. But it then requires the integration, because the lesson without the impact is meaningless. If that feels resonant for you, then I invite you to share in the comments, because you're exactly who this video is for. If you'd like to go deeper, you can join the Aligned Living Collective, where each week I share these teachings, insights and stories, and how they intertwine with my life. Hey buddy, you finished dinner. That was quick. He's finished dinner and now he wants to play. If you've interrupted my train of thought, but that's okay. I'll find it again. Inside the Aligned Living Collective, I share all of this, plus the associated integration pack that I make for these teachings, and how they intertwine with life, and the challenges that life throws at us. Or if you want more personal support to dissolve the inner splits, you're welcome to reach out for, what do I call them, a clarity call, where we can get clarity on whatever it is that you're bringing into the space, and we can see if a one-on-one session would be of value to you. And if you're curious about the somatic side, you can explore aligned yoga. I'll leave a link maybe here about what that is and how my journey through yoga world has changed my experience, my practice, and myself, and how I'm integrating all of these tantric teachings into embodied living, aligned. All the links for that are in the description. Thank you. Where is he? He's gone. Thank you for being here. Wishing you an aligned day, evening, night ahead. And remember, the divine is not above you. It's within you. You are the dreamer awakening within the dream. Turīyātīta samavesha. Cheers.